Hello everyone, this is Mike from MikeLowery.com. I was a little sick today, Sunday, October 4th, 2015, so I didn't get a chance to write a blog post. So I figured that I would try to use technology to my advantage and bring you into a fantasy hockey draft where I will be drafting my team. A little bit about the draft, as you can see up in the upper left-hand corner. That's the clock. The draft will actually start 30 seconds. My team name's Tuukka Shattenkirk, so I am number 5. It's a snake draft, so I'm 5 in the first round, and then essentially 4th in the second round, 5 in the third round, 4th in the fourth round, to make it fair. For forwards and defensemen, ADP is average draft position, goals, assists, plus minus, penalty minutes, power play points, shots on goals, or shots on goal. Those are all stats. The draft has started. People obviously talking crap over here. Ovechkin went first. That's really no surprise to me. Guy I'm trying to target is a guy who gets a fair amount of shots on goal. And a fair amount of power play points. Claude Giroux, John Tavares, he would also be another one that I would target if he's still available on the board. Right here you can toggle between their stats from last year and projected stats. I like to keep it on the stats from last year because, I mean, anyone can project stats. So, Steven Stamkos went 4th. I think John Tavares with a 4.6 average draft pick, considering he's a pretty solid player. Once again, as I explained in one of my previous blog posts, power play points, it double dips. If he gets 20 goals or 20 power play goals, it's going to give me a point in both goals and power play points. The only other person that has stronger power play points than him is Claude Giroux. However, Johnny T's got a couple more points than he does, so that's who I'm going to take with my 5th overall pick, getting them for pretty much value. Over here you can see and follow along with my team. I can also scroll and see who's picked what on other teams. If I really want to highlight a player, I can click on the star, and that player will come over here in my queue. So you can kind of keep a running list of players that you're interested in. I'm not interested in Phil Kessel by any means, so I am going to get rid of him from my queue. We have 8 teams in this league, and there are 3 teams that haven't shown up for the draft, so those teams are what are called auto picks. Jeremy, my buddy, he picked Malkin 6th overall with Seguin still on the board, Ben and Giroux still on the board. It's a pretty risky pick. Up until this point, I think all the picks were pretty solid. 6th overall, not so much. Perry, he's also a little bit higher at 8th overall than I would have taken, but hey, if Giroux's still on the board, then that'll be awesome for me. Perry is one of those players, though he's a category coverage player, especially in a league like this. He'll get a fair amount of goals, assists, plus minus, penalty minute, and shots on goal. So he's not the most terrible pick, but for picking in the first round, 8th overall, I would say that's a little high. I got the next pick up, so I'm really hoping for Claude Giroux to still be up there. I would love to get him. If I could get him and Johnny Tavares, I would be sitting pretty, I feel, for these first 2 rounds. Also, pay attention. Goalies, Rene, Lundqvist, and Holtby have all went. Holtby, another high pick for him. I don't feel like he's going to have another good year. So far, Jeremy's been kind of making some picks that I don't agree with, but hey, to each his own. So 4 goalies already off the board. Got to keep that in mind. I like to take 3 goalies, but definitely 12th overall pick. I'm not going to pass up. I'm not going to pass up Claude Giroux at this point. Yeah, sure, Jamie Benn is ranked higher. He's coming off of double hip surgery. Yeah, he doesn't have as many power play points as Claude Giroux. So, Tavares and Giroux, Very happy with those picks. Didn't really think that I would be able to get both of those guys. Now I probably, because there are 4 goalies off the board, I should probably start looking at goaltenders. One goaltender that I want to keep an eye on is Marc-Andre Fleury. As you can see, last year he had 10 shutouts, 34 wins. I got a feeling that he's going to get a lot of wins again this year. He's on a team with a high-powered offense, so if I can get him, 21 is a little high, so I'm not going to worry about him right away. But if I can get him down in the 4th round at 28, then that's probably a good spot to get him at. Then my other 2 goalies, what I'm going to try to do is the same thing that I did in my other league and pick up both Elliott and Allen. Probably deeper in this league, probably like the 10th and 11th round, respectively. Carlson, Tarasenko, Taves. Taves is one of those guys, too, like I stated in my blog post. He is good in real life, really good in real life, but in fantasy hockey, he just doesn't get the job done. 17th, I feel, is a bit too high. Carlson and Subban, both offensive defensemen, not too bad of plays for picking them in the 3rd round. So I'm going to click back over here to all forwards defensemen so I can see who's left on the board. This is another interesting spot to be in. Jacob Voracek, he was one of Philly's best players last year. He had quite a few power play points and 221 shots on goal. However, he just got taken. But one thing when you're drafting fantasy is I've already got Claude Giroux here. If I pick up Jake Voracek, or if he was still available, that's 2 of my spots that whenever Philly plays are automatically filled with 2 really good guys. Patty Kane's still left on the board. I have no idea how he's left that high. But once again, sticking with my philosophy of double dipping from the power play points and regular points, I'm actually going to pick up Joe Pavelski here. He's a power play goal scoring phenom. I believe in the last 3 years, he's had about 86 goals, and like 30 of them have came on the power play. So I'm sure whoever the next pick is going to wind up picking Patty Kane. I don't really know how he's still up there. His average draft position is 12.5. We're already 22. We did go heavy on goalies early, so that could be an issue. Maybe people still think that he's got issues. The whole rape investigation, which I think is going to kind of blow over here once the season starts. There you have it. Went with the next pick. So whoever that was got a pretty value pick. Oh, that was the same guy who also picked Malkin, and will be a little too high, I think. Jonathan Quick's going. So it's 4 more picks till my pick again. Nice thing about having only 8 teams, draft goes fairly quickly. I think at this point, with pretty much all of the top tier goalies gone, Bishop, he might be top tier. Groin issues are difficult to deal with. Rask is falling off. He's definitely, not in the same stratosphere anymore as Quick, Lundqvist, Rinne, and Price. So I think the value pick is going to be Marc-Andre Fleury here. I got confidence that he is going to do well. Out of the goalies that are left, he's got the 2nd highest wins. He's definitely got the most shutouts. 3rd highest wins, Frederik Andersen. That's kind of another guy who's been going really deep in drafts. So last 2 picks, Ben Bishop, Devin Dubnyk. This really tells me that I can't really wait too much longer for my goaltenders. I got to take my goaltenders. I got lucky, and with Bishop and Dubnyk getting taken before me, Marc-Andre Fleury's not going to be down here at my 37th. So even though he's 31.1, I might be stretching a touch for him, but he's been pretty consistent throughout his career, especially fantasy-wise. So I'm going to go ahead and draft him here as my first goalie. Not really going to worry about goalies now. Probably deep, actually. I'm going to keep keep Brian Elliott, Jake Allen. Those are my two guys. They've been going average 100. So maybe for this league, maybe like in the 90s. Also, in this league, I'm not really going to focus too much on defensemen till the very end. And then since hits are one of our categories, or PIMs, I should say, are one of our categories, I'm going to go with a guy who gets a fair amount of PIMs. And I'm going to basically get those defensemen that get a lot of PIMs and can also do some point scoring. Connor McDavid's still on the board. He's an interesting player. More than likely going to be Rookie of the Year candidate. Projected to get about 70 points as a rookie this year. He is on Edmonton, but he's definitely going to be a good player. All the analysis points to that, and I think that if that many people are thinking he's going to be that good, and the preseason that he's having, he will be good. He is probably a guy that I would have picked up ahead of Parise, a guy that I would have picked up ahead of Zetterberg, a guy that I would have picked up ahead of McKinnon. Johansson, that's a good pick at 32. He gets a lot of power play points. With that said, it's 2 more picks to me if McDavid's still on the board. The question is do you take him? What other options do I have? I've got a guy like Dustin Byfuglien who's 38 and has 124 penalty minutes, combined with 209 shots. That's not a bad play either. A defenseman, nonetheless. I think there's a lot of good things, a lot of good defensemen that are left when all is said and done. So now I can go to Connor McDavid here. I'm going to see what the latest on him is. The other guy you can look at is Max Pacioretty, 67 points. Not very many power play points, but he shoots a lot. Nicholas Backstrom's still left down here, 33 power play points. He's probably going to be the guy that I target. So with that said, I've got enough centers. I'm not really going to go with Connor McDavid. I think I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to get Max Pacioretty for 37 goals and 302 shots on net. That's a good play here. Nicholas Backstrom will still be around, probably even as deep as round 7 in this league. So he can be my third center and round that out. The other thing that you also have to watch in fantasy that I forgot to mention earlier is you've got some players like Claude Giroux. He's a center and a right wing. Pavelski's a center and a left wing. If I were to take a guy like Connor McDavid, he's just a straight up center. So you can only have 2 centers play. So let's say Tavares, McDavid, and Giroux were all playing. Well, I could put Giroux in a right wing spot. But Tavares and McDavid can only be in center spots. So to pick McDavid high like that, he's not going to be better than John Tavares, and he probably won't be better than Nicholas Backstrom. He certainly will not get the same amount of power play points. If this were a deeper, 10-12 team league or higher, Nicholas Backstrom's probably not going to be on the board for me in the 6th, 7th round. So I probably would have taken McDavid in that situation, but in this one, a lot of people are passing on McDavid, which, I can see why. There's still a few good centers out there. As we look back over at the draft board here, our defensemen are starting to go. Keith, Hedman, Doughty. Interesting picks considering Byfuglien's still up there. Byfuglien's covers the board well. 17 power play points as a defenseman, over 200 shots on goal. That's good. And then, 124 penalty minutes. I don't know how many guys have that many penalty minutes that have been drafted yet. It's one of those things that you do have to keep in mind and you do have to look at. No one that's been drafted so far has as many penalty minutes as Buff. Not that you can't find people that get penalty minutes, but he's also a defenseman, and he's one of those unique players that I think he's a right-wing defenseman. So with him still being on the board, people are still staying away from McDavid. And then Jordan Eberle is missing like the first month of the season, and he's on Edmonton, so I can see why he's still on the board. I think Byfuglien right here is a good pick, and at least it gives me one defenseman that can cover a lot of the categories. So I'm going to take Bufflin here. I wasn't going to draft a defenseman this high, but I think at this point, his average draft spot is 38.1. I'm getting him 44, so I think this is a good value right here. Plus, like I said, you got to look kind of at what the draft board, what other people are doing too. If everyone else is going nuts with goalies, you don't want to sit back and just take all these stud forward players. Otherwise, you're not going to be left with anything for goalies. It's more of a strategy of picking, it's almost like how you have to pick a real team in any sport. You have a philosophy going in. My philosophy for this fantasy hockey season is getting guys that have good power play points and a fair amount of shots on goal for this specific league. So far I feel like I've done that very well. And so you just pick guys that you can fit into that philosophy. They got Dustin Bufflin in here as a right wing, but I'm going to put him as a D. So I still have 2 right wing spots that are open too that I've got to start looking at filling. My homeboy Nick Backstrom's still up here if I get him at 53. Perfect. As a matter of fact, I think that's kind of a steal. If someone winds up taking him, then I think I do go up and take Connor McDavid. I've got 2 picks, so unless Connor McDavid and Backstrom both go, I should be sitting pretty with getting one of those guys. I like Backstrom. Him and the OV connection is pretty insane. That's why he led the league with 60 assists last year. You got some other value down here too. Roman Josi, I can see why he went. Crawford, I can see why he went. JVR, that's really high for JVR on a not so good team. I'm not really feeling that pick at all. Just kind of going up the board. That honestly might be the worst pick so far in the draft. 52nd for JVR. That's pretty high, and I don't see any value in drafting him that high. Took Backstrom. I think that was definitely a great move. TJ Oshie, Philip Forsberg, Pietrangelo, those are all pretty typical. Philip Forsberg, I got a feeling he's going to break out this year. He had an insane playoff run last year, and I think the new surrounding for TJ Oshie, I think he'll finally get out of the shell that he was in St. Louis and be, probably like the 3rd best player on the team behind Ovi and Backstrom. He might be the guy that they needed to actually get them over the hump and at least get them to like an Eastern Conference Finals position or something like that. So with that team, once again, it all depends on Holtby. I don't think he's going to be quite as studly as he was last year, but needless to say, he's still going to have a good year. But Forsberg, he's a guy that you're going to have to watch out for. He could sneak up and easily get 70 or 80 points this year. So, and Nashville's team is sneaky scary too. So that whole thing that they've got going on in Nashville, I don't think a lot of people are there. I don't think Nashville's on a lot of people's radar, and I think they should be because I think they're going to be pretty deadly. So Daniel Sedin just went. He would have probably been a guy that I would have eyed up. Johnny Gaudreau, he's going to be a stud this year. I don't know if I want to take him right now. I'm going to look at the power play points. There should be some power play studs still in here that get a fair amount of shots on goal. Jason Spezza, he's a center. Sedin's a center. Markov's a defenseman. Wayne Simmons, a little early for him. Marlowe, I could see taking Patrick Marlowe. I've got Joe Pavelski right now. Gustav Nyquist, Steen, 64 points, 63. I think Steen's probably the best pick here. Fair amount of shots on goal, kind of identical numbers to Marlowe. So I'm going to take him because if I were to take Marlowe and Pavelski, they're both center left wings, so that would have made it a nightmare to try to figure that out. Still staying over here watching the goalie situation because I don't want to lose out on Allen or Elliott because I haven't been paying attention to goalies. So I'm kind of banking on those 2 goalies sticking around. So far with the way this league's drafted, I think that those goalies are going to kind of be there. We still got a good goalie in Bobrovsky, Halak, Luongo. Mace is still up there. Anderson's still up there. Elliott and Allen. Marty Jones, if I really have to. Antti Niemi's obviously still up there. So you got guys that are up there that I'm not really too worried about the goalie situation right now. I'm still going to try to put all of my stock into my forwards. If I look over here, Bufflin's going to play D, so I definitely need to start looking at my right wings. I'm heavy on centers and left wing. I got to find some right wing firepower here. Once again, I'm going to sort by power play point. Just take a look, see who's up there for right wings. Wayne Simmons again comes up. Gustav Nyquist is up there. Radim Verbata, he is a stud. Well, the last time that he's gotten 31 points, the last time he hasn't gotten 30 goals. As you can see, Blake Wheeler was just picked up. That probably would have been who I would have went for in this round. Radim Verbata's also got 267 shots on goal. He's at 124. He's going to be around for a right wing. So I'm not even going to worry about him right now. I'm going to take a look at the shots on goal. He's got the most shots on goal that are left, and he's probably got some of the most goals that are left too. So he might be one player that I just pick right now. It's kind of where it gets a little tough. Guess I am just going to take Verbata. Jeff Carter would have been another guy that I would have looked at. That was kind of the first time that I ever got myself into a little bind here. Not very many right wing candidates left who fill what I was looking for. So in that, a lot of people are going to say, holy crap, why the hell did he take Radim Verbata at 69th overall when his average draft position is like 118? But when you look at it, got to look at some of this stuff. I mean, yeah, Sean Monahan's average draft position is 102, but he got 31 goals last year. So he's the only 30-goal scorer that's not injured that's left on here. So I chose Radim Verbata because other than Pacioretty and Pavelski, so now I've got Pavelski, Pacioretty, and Verbata, who are all goal scorers, Tavares, Giroux, who are assist guys. So I feel pretty good with where I'm at for goals. So now I can come back and sort by assists and see who's left. We've got a center, but that would put me very deep in centers. The next thing that I'm going to look at here is, center, left wing, center, D, John Carlson. It might just be time for me to just start taking some defensemen while they're still on the board here, because really I don't need any more centers, but a guy like John Carlson's got 43 assists. He's got a fair amount of power play points, but he's also got 193 shots on goal too, which is good for a defenseman. Now we start getting into really where the drafts are won and lost. You really got to start making decisions, and the average draft position really doesn't matter at this point. With the 76, considering that John Carlson's ranked 67th overall, and he's been averaged in the around pick 70, to get him at 76, I think is a good value for me, especially after having to take Radim Verbata with the last picks. So my centers are studs, so I can't really look at any more center positions. I still need to fill that right wing spot. So I really still need to find a right wing who's going to be there and who's going to produce for me. You can see Haas down here, 95th. I'll be at like 85th. So, we'll kind of see where that comes in. A guy that might be worth taking now, if he's still on the board, would be a guy like Wayne Simmons. He's a category coverage person. I got a feeling that he's gonna do well again. So he's left wing, right wing, 22 assists though. His average is 89. He's on Philly. I've already got Giroux, so I like reading these things too, because you always, you kind of get a little bit more insight right before you got to make a decision. They're thinking that Host is not really going to slow down at all. So that's good. He covers the categories slightly better, as far as PIMs and shots on goal than Hoodler does. And I honestly think in this situation, you do kind of have to look at a Marian Hossa and say, okay, well, if he gets 20 and 40 for 60 points, but he throws 250 pucks at the net, I mean, that's 100 more points that he's going to get you than Yuri Hoodler. So while Hoodler gets more points in general, Marian Hossa is probably the go-to guy here to fill in that right wing spot where, he's going to get you some assists and he's going to throw a lot of pucks at the net. So their average draft position's not too different. Host is only ranked 8 less, so 85th, 95th average draft position. I still think this is a fine take right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and draft Hossa right there. Got to go back now. We have our 2 right wings. We have our 2 left wings. We have our 2 starting centers. And then I've got a backup center, a backup left wing. Got to go back, see where my goalie situation is before I lose train of thought here. Miller, Mace, Hiller, Anderson, Elliott, and Allen. I think I honestly am just probably going to wait on Elliott and Allen until the very end. It looks like now the Blues are going to actually pick a starting goalie, so who knows by the end of October. So maybe taking both of them won't be the greatest thing, but at the same time, there's going to be talent left in the free agent market with only 8 teams. So let's say Elliott does become the starter, you can drop Allen and still be able to pick up a nice third string goalie on the waiver wire. So I'm not too worried about that. Anderson, I really don't know why he's not looked at more. The only thing is if I pick him, then I've got to make a decision between Elliott and Allen, and I really don't want to have to make a decision. It's a lot easier for me to just pick up both of them, start Fleury obviously every single night, and then pay attention to who's starting for St. Louis and plug them in. Goalie stats, you're always going to screw yourself. There's going to be one Saturday, probably a month during the season, where you're going to pick 2 goalies that you think should be studs because they're playing against a crappy team or whatever, and then the goalie that you have on the bench that's playing against the best team in the league winds up shutting them out. Those are by far the most difficult decisions to make, is which goalies to start when you have all 3 goalies playing. That way, taking Elliott and Allen together, I'm as my buddy put it, handcuffing myself, essentially giving myself 2 starters instead of 3 starters, and it makes my decision making a lot easier, and I don't lose out on those opportunities for guys that you don't expect to have big nights. So it's another reason why I decided to make my philosophy that for this year. So we'll see how that turns out for me. Going back to the forwards and defensemen, we still have Duchesne left on the board. Simmons is still on the board for how good he covers categories. 24 power play points, 60. He might be a good person to take there. I really kind of got to look down this list quickly and see, look over here. I really don't have much for right wings. So, Jeff Carter's still here. I think the shots on goal is going to be huge. Let's just see what because if you get a point for every shot on goal, essentially, and it's head-to-head, you might as well take the guy who's firing a ton of pucks at the net. So, Brendan Gallagher, 161 overall. I'd like to get a little bit better. Patrick Hornquist, Jeff Carter, Matt Duchesne, Cam Atkinson. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take him right there because I think he'll still be around. You know, I really like Jeff Carter. I'm gonna take him, position player too. Uh, who knows? He could still be around. I don't even know really where the. I haven't been paying attention to the draft board over here, so I really don't know where guys are going. But it looks like with only an 8-team league, the one thing that's for sure is this league's gonna have plenty of good guys on waiver wire on the that you can pick up post draft. So I'm not really too worried about who I'm picking right now. Guy like Wayne Simmons is probably going to be out on the waiver wire if something doesn't work out with, Steen or Carter or something like that. You can pick them up. Now I'm going to probably actually start looking at, the defensemen are starting to get scooped up. So, once again, I'm not worried about my goalie situation. So, I'm going to look for defensemen, and I'm probably just going to go for these guys right here that are still, that are studs in, Mark Streit and Markov are just studs. Both have over 40, both basically had 50 points. Mark Streit, yeah, he's -8, big deal. But their power play points, you got to look at that. Their PIMs aren't there. The other thing you could do is you could conceivably look at PIMs, and you could take one of these guys that's got a amount of PIMs. But I mean, they're not getting very many points. I think that Streit and Markov are the two good picks right here. So, if for some reason someone picks up Streit, then maybe I do just go with someone who racks up a bunch of PIMs. But with Bufflin there, I mean, he had the most PIMs out of any defenseman. So, you can't. I mean, I already have PIMs covered because he's going to get PIMs again. So, I would rather cover the double dip categories like power play points, like Streit and Markov are both going to do for me. I got Streit up there, going to go to my goaltenders, and I am going to get Brian Elliott, Jake Allen, and that should round out my team. You know, if something comes up with these two guys, you still got some good players in the mix here. You still got Martin Jones, who should do phenomenal in San Jose. You still have Jimmy Howard. I mean, I'm sure Howard and Mrazek are both up here, so no one's even taken a stab at either of Detroit's goalies. So yeah, I mean, and let's not forget, I've got Andre Fleury. So never go full Kopitar. Took Mark Streit. So I've got to go back to my drawing board, look at the defenseman again, and see now who's got the most power play points left. Cronwall. I mean, I lost out on 30 points for Streit, but I still think that Markov covers the categories slightly better than Streit. Streit's on my, on my favorite team, the Flyers, but that's okay. Now we've got Cronwall at 935 -4, 40 PIMs, 23 power play points, 101 shots on goal, or Marek Zidlicki. Is another guy that I can look at. Enough. 108 PIMs, 15, 138. That's not too bad for a defenseman. -11 sucks though, but if you look at all these guys, they're all minus. Strawman, he's up there too. Edler is a good category coverage guy. Another goalie just went, so I think I'm just going to take Elliott and Allen here, insure my two goalies, and then come back and figure out who I want for a defenseman. Because, it's, once again, you could go back to shots on goal for defensemen, and Alexander Edler, then he's probably going to be, well, the Pims. So here's an example where you've got Suter, Muzzin, and Edler, who are all pretty good. Suter had 38 points, 41 points for Muzzin, and 31 points for Edler. Plus minus, Edler won, Muzzin was the worst. Pims, Muzzin was the least. So this is all pretty relative. I think if I had to pick, I think Suter's probably the better player out of the three of them, but that necessarily doesn't mean that he's the best fantasy player out of the three of them. With that being said, I'll probably try to take him just because he does eat up a lot of ice in Minnesota, and Minnesota's really not that bad of a team at all. I don't know how he's only got 11 power play points, but his plus minus and his assists are good, so we're going to take him there, and hopefully we can get Jake Allen here with the next pick. Yep, so I was able to accomplish what I wanted to with the goalies, with Fleury, Elliott, Allen. I've got Hossa, Carter, Steen, Backstrom. When you go up and down the list, I wind up having a pretty good team. I don't know how many of these guys I'm actually gonna move. There might be some better value out there, over Steen, Hossa, and Carter, but I mean, you won't really be able to tell until the season starts. So, based on what's happened in the preseason and stuff, I feel very, very strong about the picks that I've made. I really haven't looked at any of the other teams once we're done drafting. They allow you 15 minutes to stay in the draft room, and you can actually see what the other teams have picked, and I actually think that they tell you, Yahoo gives their little thing of who they felt has the best team, based on the draft. So that's a little interesting thing to see. So we'll kind of take a look at my team really quick, and then we can see what Yahoo says about the overall picks. Top to bottom, though, I mean, going back to my team, I think I cover pretty much every category. The only category that I might be a little thin on is penalty minutes, but I mean, realistically, if that's what it comes down to, I can drop a player like, Steen, Hossa, or Carter, which are three great players, and I keep going back to those guys as dropping them, which tells you that I have a pretty deep roster. But if I've got to drop one of those guys for a guy, that's just a fighter, to win, to win the matchups on a weekly basis, then, I mean, I can do that, but I think I've got enough offensive firepower with my goals, assists, power play points, and shots on goal, and a solid enough, goaltending, grouping that, I'm not gonna have to rely on Pims. I might not win it ever, or might win it very, infrequently, but I don't think that's going to have to be something that I'm going to have to focus on, because I think my firepower, in the other categories is going to be there. So let's see who's still on the draft board. My team's drafted. I wound up taking Suter with my last pick. So let's see here. Just in the average draft position, you still have Henrik Sedin, who is an 84.4. He had over 70 points last year. He's still on the board. That's crazy. Gustav Nyquist in a league with a bunch of Red Wings fans is still on the board. That's crazy. Monahan, he got 31 and 31. That's crazy. Plenty of guys that are going to be left on the waiver wire in this league. So here's my team. They don't show the guys who are on the bench what their points are, which is, I don't know, which is really weird. But and then they actually have Bufflin as a right wing, whereas Hossa would be my second right wing. But if you really look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got 4 guys right there, who have over 30 goals, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that have over 40 assists. Your plus minus 38 Max Pacioretty. I mean, there's only one guy that's got a minus. That was Claude Giroux, and it was only a -3. Power play points. The lowest power play point I have is 11. I've got 3 30 power play point guys, 2 in the mid-20s. And then when you look at these shots on goal, I think Ovechkin has the most with 300 and something, but I mean, you look, Max Pacioretty 302, 209, 261, 278. I feel like I covered those well, and that's not even considering a guy like Backstrom who had over 33 power play points and 60 assists. So, it's not including Steen, it's not including those guys. So, feel really confident. Assuming that these 2 guys are my starters, let's just say, we've got an average of 30 wins apiece, a 2.3 essentially goals against average, 91.5 save percentage, and an average of like 7.5 shutouts. So, yeah, I think that is a stellar team. And I think that I will be able to make a good run, in this 8-team league. Let's go back to the players though, and let's just take a look, at some value of guys that I'm gonna keep on my sleeper, or I mean not on my sleeper list, but on my watch list. Sedin, Monahan, Hornquist in Pittsburgh can be a stud. Spezza wasn't taking. It just goes to show you how deep the center position is, because there's still a hell of a lot of good centers left out here. Matt Stone, I got a feeling, is going to be a stud. Scott Hartnell, he's a good category coverage guy. He's one to keep a look, to keep an eye on. Mark Scheifele, or however you say that name. I mean, I think he's going to be one of quite a few sleepers this season. Ryan O'Reilly in Buffalo, I think he's going to have a breakout season. He's definitely going to be a guy that I keep an eye on. Him and Kane, I got a feeling, Evander Kane, I got a feeling are going to just crush it in Buffalo. Who else do we have here? Everyone was kind of shocked that Darnell Nurse, the old Sioux Greyhounds defenseman, got sent down. I honestly thought that, they should start giving him a chance. He is a young player, and from everything that I've read, he's kind of touted as one of those guys that could come in and be a strong defenseman in the league. So, I guess this year at this time, they've got other intentions, but keep his name on your radar in the next couple of years. He's probably going to be a good defenseman. Tyler Bozak, I remember when he played in Denver. With Denver, he was a stud. Actually, on his page for the University Athletics page, when he went to Denver University's website, it said like under future goals or something, and he said be an NHL hockey player. So I'm assuming that he was only going there to make it to the show. And that was about it. A lot of guys are talking. There's a lot of buzz about Ristolainen on the forums and other blogs and whatnot. He could be a star-studded player. Don't really know. Other than that, rounding out, not much more value. Dustin Brown, maybe he can pick it up this year. That's one of those guys that is super. I can't believe that he's kind of fallen off the way he has. Teravainen, obviously, anyone who watched the playoffs last year, he should be on your radar. Tommy Wingles covers categories very well. Marco Dano, a lot of people were shocked that he got sent down in Chicago. A lot of people thought he could be a top 6 player there, which is interesting considering that team is just stacked. Tanguay, Yakupov, Dupuis, Camilleri, Simmons, Silverberg, plenty of guys. Matt Molson, Nichushkin. There's a lot of guys. Louis Eriksson, Brandon Dubinsky, Yager's still on the board. Drouin's still on the board. Koivu is still on the board. Evgeny Kuznetsov, Pasternak, Perron, Filppula. There's a ton of value still left out on this waiver wire, so it'll be interesting to see who essentially gets, once some of these guys break through the threshold and start to become, the sleepers, the guys that weren't drafted and start tearing it up. It'll be a race to see which of us gets those guys. This league is quite a bit different from my other league in that considering there's 4 less teams. My other league that had where we already had our draft, they didn't. There's not that much depth on the waiver wires. So if you can pick up a stud, it's way more useful here. There's so many studs that, realistically, everyone should be able to get at least one waiver wire stud that will help them this year. So that's interesting. Just interesting little thing. Four teams make that much of a difference. This is just a round by round thing. Who got drafted where? I really don't know what this means. I see. So the centers. So I've got more than enough centers, and then I've only got 3 defensemen, 2 left wing, 3 right wing, and 3 goalies. So, this guy, he's got 6 centers. That's a lot. As I said, most people took 3 goalies. Only 2 teams took 2 goalies. And hopefully those 2 goalies are studs. Lundqvist, Bishop, can't complain with that. And then who was the other guy that took only 2? The guy that was pissed because I took Hossa. Oh, that must be Mike Kelly. Okay, now I know who that is. Guy that I've known since probably elementary school. Renee Quick. Yeah, he's got 2 studs too. So, as you can see, most of these teams are all going to be pretty studly. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here we go. This table shows cumulative stats for all teams based on players they have drafted. So, basically, this is showing that I drafted the best, based on the 2014 through 2015 stats. I would have had the most goals. I would have been second in assists. I would have had the highest plus minus. I would be middle of the pack in PIMS. I'd be top by far on power play points, which is what I was going for. I would be top on shots on goal. I would be towards the bottom in wins, towards the middle on goals against average, the bottom on saves, top on shutouts, and then total. I would have had about 60.5, which I really don't know what that means, to be honest with you. So even though I ripped on Jeremy and his tribute to a classic movie, Fubar, with his team name, yeah, he still fares to be the second place team in the league. So, and then the commissioner, yeah. So Tristan, shout out to you. I know you're busy with playing in the North American Hockey League for the Topeka Roadrunners, but you probably could have drafted a lot better team than you did. So, unfortunately for you, my friend, you're still young in the fantasy game. For me, it's been this about my 10th or 11th season playing, so you'll get there. But good luck with your team, buddy. You're gonna need it for fantasy. So your true junior team is a lot more important than this, anyways, and you guys are gonna do a lot better than your fantasy team is. But anyways, good luck with both teams. Let's take one look and look at the projected stats. Now projected, I'm 7th, so who knows? Once again, based on last year's stats, I would have won. Based on the projection, I would, come close to losing. And then the second place team will lose. So we'll see. It's obviously an interesting way to look at it. But anyways, I've been on here for about an hour now. It's done. There's a couple more minutes left in the draft board, but I think I pretty much covered everything. As usual, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at mike@themikelowery.com, and be sure to visit the website. That's www.themikelowery.com. Do blogging every day. There's a link for some ebooks that I've written. And as a matter of fact, once I'm done editing this video, I'm gonna probably continue to write my 6th ebook. The 5 previous ebooks can all be found on Amazon.com. The 5 combined would cost you about $7.50. So take a look at the page. If you're interested in some of the material that I've covered in the ebooks, feel free to go ahead and buy those. Most importantly, tell friends, tell family. I've got a Facebook page. It's under Mike Lowery. That's separate from my personal page. And like I said, I try to blog daily. So get the word out. Trying to grow this sport as much as possible. And with today's technology, with social media, the more and more people that I can get in front of, the better for the sport. So thank you again, and we will talk to you later.